Hello,
I'm Karena.
and I'm Jamie.
Welcome to As Told by ADHD. This podcast is the brainchild of two best friends with ADHD who share a passion for learning and a knack for finding the most fascinating tidbits of knowledge.
Each week, we embark on a wild and hilarious journey of discovery as we dive headfirst into topics that pique our curiosity. From dark folklore to bizarre statistics, cultural ceremonies to famous dead people, we're here to entertain, educate, and tickle your funny bone.
This week on As Told by ADHD, we're going to hit you guys with lost civilizations.
I'm excited about this one. I'm really excited.
I am too. I learned so much about a country I had never dove into before.
And I learned so much about a civilization I had never heard of before.
That too. Never heard of it. Country I've never looked into, literally ever. So, but we're going to do that dice roll because we're going to jump right into it.
Evens or odds?
We're going to do an even.
It's an odd.
It's an odd.
I go first.
Ooh, do tell.
I have a feeling that yours might be longer than mine because I got as much information as I could, but obviously with lost civilizations, you're not going to get like a ton of information because they were lost, right?
Mm-hmm.
We just kind of have what has been found and what has been recorded by other countries that dealt with this, or I guess civilizations that dealt with this.
So that way there is like some kind of record of it, but there's no like internal record from the civilization itself.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
So, I'm going to be talking about what people theorize is the first civilization in the world.
Oh, she went deep. Okay.
She went deep. I'm going to be talking about the Minoans. Have you ever heard about the Minoans?
I have heard, yes. I've heard of the Minoans because me and you both love a good documentary, historical type object, hence our channel, what our channel has turned into. So.
I don't think this is what we thought it would turn into, but then it turned into a history channel, and I'm not mad about it.
I'm not mad about it either.
I like learning things.
Me too.
So, around 3000 BCE, so 3000 years before year one.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy long time ago. This is kind of when we start having the first documentation of these people. I have a question. If an entire civilization disappeared tomorrow, what do you think would have survived from that civilization 3,000 years from now? Or 3,000 plus years from now?
Usually, just from what I know, like pottery.
There's a lot of pottery.
Maybe some sort of evidence of a structure of some sort. Like, even if it's completely... Oh, yeah. Yeah, stories.
Myths.
Folklore.
Okay. So, while researching the Minoans, in my opinion, it left behind way more questions than answers. And I'm going to get into it, but in my research, I noticed there are a lot of historians that want so desperately to have facts about these people that they have dug their heels deep in what they think happened or what they think these people were about.
So they became conspiracy theorists?
Almost, kind of. I don't know. I wouldn't say conspiracy theorists. It's more like, oh, all of the evidence points this way, so we're going to say this. Even though, there's no definitive evidence of one way or the other. And there are historians on opposite sides of like, no, it was this way. No, it was this way. So, Minoans actually didn't call themselves Minoans. This term ended up being coined by an archaeologist named Arthur Evans in 1900. He named these people Minoans after the king of Crete, King Minos. And King Minos in mythology is like a demigod, the son of Zeus in Greek mythology.
Fun fact. My now fiance, he had like the most like man saying about Crete. He was like, because he served in the military for 9 years, and he was deployed, and they went to Crete, and he, before we even started dating, he said the food is something you can't even like comprehend in your head, and the women are so beautiful you cannot even like put into words to describe what they look like.
I didn't go to Crete, but I have been to Athens, and oh my god, the food is amazing. I'm not attracted to women, so therefore I can't speak to that.
But I was just like, tell me I'm prettier. Duh.
Yeah. So that's why they ended up being named the Minoans, off of the king of Crete, who is a demigod in Greek mythology.
Do we know when it was discovered? Like you said 1900, so was it around like
1900?
this when they found it?
Yeah. So from the documentaries that I watched, it seemed like Arthur Evans, he visited Crete, because Crete is still like a functioning island. It's the biggest island in Greece. And it seems like he went and wanted to do a little archaeology there. He was kind of known as like a novice, someone who didn't really know a ton about archaeology. He also didn't speak Greek, but he was very, very rich, and he ended up buying a bunch of property there. And he was like, I want to find some stuff. And so he ended up finding a ton of record
Artifacts?
of people. Yeah,
Oh,
a ton of
okay,
artifacts, a ton of art. Some of the buildings, they're not like fully standing, but like their art that they painted, every wall that's still standing has art on it. It is
Wow.
gorgeous. Yeah. So, and we'll get into that later, and I'll put a ton of pictures later.
I'm so curious. I'm so
The
excited
art
to
is
see.
gorgeous. Like, I love it. Anyway, the Minoan people were on the island of Crete, like I said, which is now part of Greece, but I don't think then it was. I think it was its kind of own, not country, but it was its own entity for like towards the beginning of their civilization. And then eventually within their civilization, other people were trying to like get them to be part of their country, I think. And then they were like, hey, Greece, we don't want to be a part of them. We'll be a part of you, is what it seems like. Again, no definitive documentation on this. Just from like me piecing things together, it seems like they wanted to be a part of Greece versus anywhere else. If you look at a map of Crete and where it is in relation to everything else, it's like almost smack dab in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. And it had the ability to kind of go anywhere. Like, once they had boats, they could go anywhere they wanted. So them being kind of the first European civilization, established around 3000 BCE through 1100 BCE. So that's a really long time. And it seemed like sort of a hub of sorts, like a hub for trade. And historians aren't 100% sure who were the first people who settled there, or if they were just people there in general, or if people came there. Some people say it was the Greek people. Some people say Egyptian. Some people say Israeli. Some people say all of them. Some people say that people just came to this island and they all kind of settled in and mixed and mingled and became the Minoan people.
Okay.
We don't know, because I didn't find any evidence of them finding like something to DNA test. They could have, and I just didn't find it. But like, I'm sure there's bones and stuff there, but how do you know it's the Minoan people? How do you know it's not an animal? How do you know it's XYZ, you know?
Right.
And because it was a trading hub, it flourished. It became such a wealthy place because they would kind of be the middleman of like trading because it was like in the middle of the sea.
They were gas stations before gas stations were cool.
Kind of, yeah. Instead of gas, you just get food and supplies.
Yeah, exactly.
And there were 4 palaces that we know of, possibly 6. I saw that there were 6 archaeological sites where they were searching. I think those are kind of closed now. They're still kind of like closed off, so you can't really go in. But they're not active sites anymore. But there were 6 sites that they were searching, and I know of 4 palaces. All the palaces they gave names to, I'm not going to try to pronounce them. But if you want to look that up, go ahead.
I wonder if the guy who owned the land who wasn't, is it Grecian? Is that the terminology for like somebody from Greece?
He was British, by the way.
Yeah, like if he just like named it after freaking pasta or like rice or tomatoes or something.
No, I think Grecian people named them. Or maybe they found names somehow, but I think the Grecian people named them because they are Greek names.
Okay, good.
Yeah. But it seems like most historians can't make up their mind if these people were extremely peaceful or if they were act first, ask questions later, right? Most people seem to lean towards that they were extremely peaceful. And one of the biggest pieces of evidence that they found based off of this is none of the palaces had walls around them. And they were kind of open to the public. Like anybody could go in there.
Oh, that's what I was like, no walls on a palace. Sorry.
No, like around it, like guarding it. Yeah. Another reason why they think it might have been peaceful is because there is no evidence linking the palaces of attacking each other, meaning they probably worked in harmony. Also, there's no evidence that they didn't attack each other, but there is no evidence, like there's more evidence that they're peaceful than they're not peaceful. Also, Crete, it is a really big island. Like, it's like the size of Delaware in the United States. Square footage wise, it's not the same shape. But it seemed like they were pretty unified because they had all the same types of art. They had the same types of deities, it seemed like. It just seemed like they were just kind of all living together peacefully. So that's why people think that they were peaceful. Also, there were no records from any outside sources that they attacked or were attacked when approaching the island. They traded a lot with Egypt, and Egypt had detailed records. So you would think that like there would be something suggesting that they were not peaceful. So a lot of historians think that it is peaceful, but there are some people who are like, no, we think that they just were the strongest ones and people were scared of them. Like, there's no evidence of that, but
I was about to say, like, questions are allowed to come up, but that you ask a question and then you try to find solid evidence to back your theory, which is your hypothetical answer to that question.
Right.
Yeah.
But there is no evidence of peaceful or non-peaceful.
Exactly. But it's just one of those things, like, if you see something, like, history is inherited into the next generation. Like, the reason that we can predict things is because of the cycles of, the past, right? So, like, if this kingdom didn't have any walls because it was peaceful, because it was more community-based, that would be a more significant or a more concrete theory, I guess, because you can compare that to other civilizations in history that also did that same thing. And they could have gotten that from,
But the reason why some people think there might have been not as peaceful, which I disagree with. I think that they were peaceful, just from what I've researched. But there were certain places like what is now known as the UK, England, and parts of Spain. They would approach enemies peacefully, but when they had their back turned, they would attack. Which they're like, they could have done that. Which maybe, but I doubt it. It seemed like they were pretty peaceful, and they seemed really advanced. Anyway, another reason why people seem to think that this civilization was peaceful was because there was a lot of evidence that it was a matriarchal civilization where women were leaders, but it didn't seem like there was like a king per se or queen. They just seemed to hold really powerful positions like nobility, priestesses, record keepers, stuff like that. And in a lot of the depictions in the art, women were depicted as priestesses and pale, which people are thinking that they were more pale because they were staying inside more often, whereas the men were depicted of having darker skin, meaning, and like in the depictions, in the art that they did, they're doing physical labor outside, suggesting that the men were outside doing things while the women were inside doing more leadership roles. So that's one theory. Another theory is because they were a trading hub, the men would ship off to go trade with people. They'd be gone for days, weeks, months, and they would be gone trading, so the women would need to take over and be ruling while the men were gone. So that's another theory of why it was matriarchal and why it was peaceful. So that's kind of the building blocks of what we have in the civilization.
Okay.
And like I said earlier, this civilization was advanced. Their fashion, incredible. Vibrant colors, intricate patterns, beautiful designs, which I'll put pictures of their art that shows their dresses. Gorgeous. I'd wear it. Their architecture, unmatched for this period. They built basically labyrinths that had things like workshops, huge amounts of storage, because like I said, they're a hub for trading, so everybody would come in and store their stuff there. There was residential spaces in the palaces and even markets, so people could come in and sell things there in the palace.
That's cool.
Which is I've never heard of that. I'm sure somewhere that has happened before, but usually you think of a palace as an other place. It's
no, yeah,
only
for sure.
nobility can be there. But this place was hey, everybody can come in, come sell your stuff, come buy your stuff, have a good time. And it really seemed like there was a huge sense of community here, which possibly could have led to them being peaceful.
Yeah. You're just convincing us more that they're peaceful.
Right. And like I said, their art, absolutely gorgeous. The colors that they used, and I tried to find what the paint was made of. I couldn't really find a lot. It seemed like it was some type of plaster. And it had lime in it.
Well, that's advanced in itself, yeah.
Right. So if you are an archaeologist listening to this and you want to comment below if you know what it's made of, I'd love to hear it. Because I genuinely was I gotta know what this paint was made of. Because it's
where to look.
Right. It's so vibrant. Even to this day, it hasn't faded. It is the pillars were a bright red and still are.
Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy.
That's cool.
And something that blew my mind in the year 3000 BCE, 3,000 years before year one, they had indoor plumbing. They had indoor plumbing system. So, and it's not like today's plumbing system. So they had clay pipes that they would pour in wastewater and it would drain out of the palace. And they had indoor toilets with a plumbing system that flushed, but not like we see today. So it was like you had this toilet, you would do your business, and then you would have like a vase of water. And when you're done with your business, you would pour the water in a hole below the toilet and it would wash it down into their sewage system.
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
And like that, it blows my mind because I feel like the research that I've done, it wasn't until like much later that indoor plumbing was a thing, you know?
Right.
So it's like wild that is how they did that. They were also a hub for, like, they created purple fabrics and clay pots. Purple fabrics, purple dye, insanely hard to get back then. And historians think that they might have had a sea snail farm, which is also crazy to think about. Like, they thought, like, hey, these sea snails make the purple dye. Let's just mass produce them and have a little farm and then use them for the dye. And can you guess how many sea snails it would take to create 1 gram of purple dye?
Okay. Give me like a finger measurement of how big these snails kind of get. Give me a little something.
Like this big.
That includes this little slimy body.
And they're like this big.
10.
12,000. 1 gram of purple dye.
How? Like, okay, where is the purple inside the snail?
I think
Like,
it's,
what in the world?
I couldn't tell you, honestly. The way that it was kind of explained, they would have to crack the shell open, and then they would have to extract the snail from the inside, and then they would have to kind of bleed it almost. But, like, not quite bleeding it. I'm not 100% sure exactly how it works. If you know how it works, you can
That's
put in the comments
wild.
below. I know.
That's wild.
12,000. 1 gram. And 1 gram of purple dye would only dye the hem of a garment. But guess what? They were mass producing purple fabrics, fully purple, meaning they had to have access to hundreds of thousands, hundreds of even millions of
Those
these
poor snails.
Yeah.
Not the snails.
Not the snails. But we know that they were mass producing these because there were records other places that people were buying them from other nations or civilizations. So
and fun fact, they're now extinct.
Sea snails?
Sea snails? They're gone. Why?
Well,
Purple.
Minoans. The Minoans did it. But anyway,
Wow.
so they were mass producing that. They also, in the palace, had workshops, like I said, that had pottery wheels. Like, way
Oh, that's
before
cool.
pottery wheels. Yeah. So they were
That's
mass
cool.
producing pottery. So, again, way before its time, they were making bank. Like, tons of money. Like, everybody was prospering on this island. And another thing about them is they had their own language. But we don't know how to read it. Even to this day, we have not deciphered it. And there's 2 types that historians have kind of not deciphered in a way, but like they've realized that there's a linear A and a linear B, and the linear A seems to be the first rendition of the language that they write in, and then linear B is kind of like the later, like, I'm assuming it's going to be something like Old English versus today's English.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, okay.
Because they seem to be very similar. Nobody has been able to fully decipher it. Nobody knows what these records say, but they had them on like little clay tablets that they would make that could fit in the palm of your hand, which is really cool. Yeah.
That's crazy because civilizations after this civilization would write on stone tablets that were bigger than their whole bodies.
Well, I feel like you kind of had to on stone, because if you're using stone, you can easily make more mistakes, whereas if you have wet clay, you can just write.
Yeah, but I think it's cool that they kind of formed it to be like easily held. Yeah. Yeah.
So everything is amazing, right? For these people, they're thriving, they are peaceful, we think, and they seem to be going in an upwards directory that would be able to like catapult them into being one of the best nations in the world. But what happened?
Yeah, what happened? I want to know.
Well, natural disasters happened. Several of them.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed to start with several earthquakes. Like several earthquakes. And there were some damages to the palace, but nothing devastating, nothing horrible. They rebuilt the parts that needed to be rebuilt. And then around 1600 BCE, Mount Thera, a volcano on the island of Santorini, erupted. Historians believe that this is the biggest, most devastating volcano explosion in human history.
I remembered a documentary on it.
If you know anything about Santorini, it's kind of like a crescent-shaped island, I believe, and it blew up part of the island. The explosion devastated the city of Akrotiri on Santorini, and it sank part of the island.
Wow.
Yeah. And Crete, the island of Crete, was about 70 miles south from this volcano. Within hours of that volcano exploding, a tsunami made its way to Crete. It destroyed many of the palaces, if not all of them. We're not 100% sure of the logistics here, but it seemed like it devastated the island. There were some survivors, obviously, because there were mountains on Crete, so they could get to higher ground if they needed to, if they had time. And within a little while after that, I'm not 100% sure when or how long it was between the eruption and smoke filling the sky.
Very toxic.
So much so that Crete went dark. Very toxic. Crete went dark. Like, it fully covered engulfed it.
Wow.
And like the ash clouds were so incredibly dense and thick, and so much of it ended up making its way down to Egypt, which we know now because there was ash and volcanic stones found from the island of Santorini. Like, it was like the same structure, the same makeup as Santorini in Egypt. Wow. Meaning that it traveled really far. I'm not sure how long it lasted. It could have been days, it could have been weeks, could have even been a month of Crete being covered with smoke and ash. But eventually it did clear up a little bit. The surviving the surviving Minoans ended up rebuilding as much as they could, but due to the devastation of the earthquakes, the tsunami, the aftermath of the smoke and ash, the Minoans were not thriving as they once did. And there was about 100 to 200 years after that big event that the Minoans were still around, but they were not as prominent as they once were.
How do you rebuild from that, you know? Took them probably about, what, like 1,000 years or a couple hundred years to, like, get as established as they were, you know?
I'm not sure how many people died on Crete from that tsunami or from the volcano erupting, but I can imagine it probably was pretty lethal and probably wiped out a lot of their numbers, meaning they probably couldn't send people to go trade anymore, so they had to wait till people come to them. So 100 to 200 years passed, and they ended up dropping off, where, like, these people, I don't know if they were able to, like, reproduce or anything, or if, like, they just seemed to disappear almost. I think there were still some people on the island, but this is when the Mycenaeans come in, and they ended up taking over the island of Crete. And the Mycenaeans are people from Greece. So they ended up taking over the island of Crete. And that was the end of the Minoan people.
Wow.
Yeah. So natural disasters are no joke.
They really aren't. They
Right.
really, really aren't.
And it seems like no one knows exactly what happened to them in the end. Like, they could have just not had children. They could have
become members of
intermingled.
another society.
Right. That's just all the facts that I found, what we know. And like I said, I feel like there are so many more questions than answers when looking into this society.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the people lean toward the volcano and the tsunami being the cause. But because there were so many years after, like 100 to 200 years after that event, they were still around. I think that possibly it wasn't the direct cause, but I think it was a huge factor.
No, for sure. And you said in the very beginning, like, everybody wanted to either be a part of Crete or wanted to take in Crete as a part of their own, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Because it was a very lucrative island. They had so much going for them.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a ton of other theories of what happened. I remember reading one theory that the Mycenaeans just came in and slaughtered everybody, but there is no proof of that. There is no, like, and I only read it in one place, so I think that was just somebody just being like,
theory.
How do I make sense of this, you know? Another theory that is pretty big, but again, we're not sure of. I'm sure you've heard of the lost city of Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
It is believed that myth, that mythical city, was based off of the Minoans and Crete. But it's also said to be a couple of other different places, so nobody's 100% sure. But this is one of the places theorized.
I don't think I would be able to start really looking into Atlantis. Yeah, it's Atlantis.
Atlantis.
Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'd ever be able to, like, actually put energy into looking into Atlantis and coming out sane.
Oh, I would.
Because it really is
thriving.
like a myth. It's I mean, it's a myth.
Well, it is.
That is on record. You know? Like, there's like, there's this place. There's this place here that we visited, and it's all pointing to like common regions that we've heard of lost civilizations being in, or like, could this be Atlantis? Could this be Atlantis? Could this be Atlantis? You know, like, I feel like I would just lose my mind.
Well, it's not an actual place. It never was an actual place. It's actually a story by Homer. Was he a philosopher?
Well, yeah, but it's based off of
Oh, it's based off of
a real place
true
that they
events.
haven't been able to find, too. Like a type of culture, they're looking for like very specific things in that story that have existed. They're like, okay, they explained this type of inscription, from this story, and then they find something that has that inscription, like that's why people are still questioning the.
In my opinion, I think it was never real. I don't I'm sure he got inspiration. I'm sure Homer got inspiration from things happening to cities like this. Like even like in Santorini, like that whole city fucking collapsing. Like he could have gotten inspiration from that.
Yeah. It's I don't think I'd be able to put my brain power into it.
I think it'd be fun to like look into. But also like
where would you stop?
Never.
Or just find you in a corner, just Atlantis.
Yeah. But out of all the information I gave you, what do you think happened to these people?
I think that natural disasters is going to be, again, like you said, like the number one cause, because when you look at history, like especially like a major argument in like the climate change movement is when the earth reaches a certain level of CO2, extreme disasters happen back to back. Like weather disasters happen, like boom, 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 boom.
Right.
So
Which,
I definitely think that could be a thing.
Also, the earthquakes happening probably caused the volcano to erupt, which caused the tsunami. So
I forget what name of like movement the earth does in certain earthquakes, but when earth mashes together, I know that it'll go like one will be dominant over the other and the other one will go down and be turned into like magma again, and that could have been what happened around Santorini, and it just got too overwhelming and caused an eruption. So
yeah,
too much magma.
Too much magma. I definitely think that it was probably the largest contributing factor, the volcano erupting, causing the tsunami. Because if it had just been the tsunami, I think they could have rebuilt. But because it was like devastated, because also like think about the effects of smoke and ash on crops. They might have starved because they probably couldn't get crops to grow. So
everybody was dying from the toxic gas too. They're literally suffocating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously some people survived. Also, there were possible evidence of cannibalism, which might have been a factor of them starving.
Ew. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
People do what they feel needs to be done. So
right. But we also don't know if they were like killing people to eat them, or if it was like, oh, Tom died. We're hungry.
Yeah.
Like it could have been anything, Desperate times sometimes call for desperate measures.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. But if they had survived, I think they would be a huge, prominent pillar of society. Because
I agree with that.
they clearly had incredibly intelligent people to be able to mass produce, in that time period, clay pots and purple fabric. Like they were mass producing this shit. Also with their like pottery wheels and their plumbing system, they could have pushed society forward, in my opinion, again, this is all theories. In my opinion, they could have pushed society into coming into a more technological age sooner, which would be crazy.
True.
But
I don't
that's
know.
just my opinion.
So many theories.
I know.
You want to know what's not a theory, though?
What?
How much water you should be drinking.
Correct.
Across all society in the world, they all recommend that you have your daily dose of water. So, and there's also studies that are worldwide on the benefits of doing something nice for yourself. So what's that going to be this week?
Yeah, what are you going to do this week?
I think my nice thing for myself this week is it's going to have to be small because I'm a college student. But since it's starting to warm up, making sure I sit in the sun for at least 5 minutes every day.
Nice. Wish I could do that.
You can for like a minute and then you gotta go. You gotta go.
A minute a week. For those who don't know, I have lupus, which my immune system reacts negatively if I sit in the sun. Don't know how or why, but can't be in the sun, which is why I'm so pale. But I'm also white, so.
That's true. But before she got her diagnosis, like, yes, I'm a very, very, very pale mixed person, but she would be like so much darker than me. It was insane before she got her diagnosis. This is when we were like teenagers though, so.
Yeah. I can tan really easily. Like, even if I take my dog for a walk, if I'm wearing like flip-flops or something, I'll have like flip-flop tan lines immediately, even if it's only like a 5-minute walk. So,
yeah.
So I gotta cover up when I go outside now. How fun is that?
Well, we still also really, really, really want to do like a comment a week of what somebody is going to do nice for themselves, because we do believe that will inspire others to do something nice for themselves, even if they feel like they don't have the time, they don't have the patience, or they just feel like they're fine when they're actually not fine. So like, if you are going to do something nice for yourself this week, please let us know in the comments, because we would love to share that with everybody and hopefully inspire others to take that moment as well.
Yeah. We just need comments first, guys. So if you're watching this, I would love for you to just comment. Also subscribe. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed this week's episode. I hope that you liked talking about the Minoans and looking at their beautiful art that I'm going to have on the YouTube video on screen. Because we do also have audio if you're just listening to audio. And if you're listening to audio and you want to look at the pictures, we usually put something on Instagram with the pictures. So
we always put it on Instagram. We make a nice little slideshow for you guys so you can kind of, that has like a little tidbits of like information we touched on. So that way you can put a visual to like the words that we, said. So.
Exactly. But I think the nice thing I'm going to be doing for myself today is it's a rainy day. And you know I love a good rainy day. I'm going to sit by the window, watching the rain, and drinking tea and cuddling with my dog.
That sounds like a good plan. I'm going to hold you to it.
It's going to fill my soul with happiness.
All the oxytocin.
But I hope you guys have a wonderful week. We will see you guys next week with part 2. Karena's going to bring us a really fun story. And take care of yourself. It's rough out there these days.
It's rough out here. But you want to know it's not rough? These vocal cords, because she's about to hit you with that goodbye.
Goodbye. I did a little slide.
We'll see you guys later. Bye.